that of the greatest importance is the one who is known as the great compassionate one, Aya Avalokiteshvara, or Chenrezig as he is known in Tibetan, because he symbolizes the very compassion of all Buddhas. Avalokiteshvara or Chenrezig is not in any which way different from the Buddha, yet he appears in a different form. He appears in this form simply to personify the limitless, boundless compassion of all Buddhas, yet essentially he is not different from them in any which way. In this way, it is the great compassionate one, Chenrezig, Avalokiteshvara, who brings about the greatest benefit for beings. And this is clearly exemplified by those who in this world personify the great compassionate one. There is, of course, first and foremost His Holiness the Dalai Lama, who is considered an emanation of Chenrezig. Then, of course, there is also His Holiness the Drukpa, who is also considered an emanation, a manifestation of Chenrezig, of the great compassionate one. In this way, one could say that these masters are Chenrezig in human form. When we recite the various brief prayers for the long life of the Dalai Lama, of the Drukpa, etc., then basically what it is that we do here is that we request them, that we pray for their long life, for their remaining within us in a human form in this world. And in this way, we're enabled to receive the blessing and inspiration of these masters. We're able to come together to such gatherings as this, and that in itself is an indicator for the great merit that we have accumulated. Well, with this, thank you very much to all of you.
I have a few announcements to make. The evening teaching will start at 2 o'clock. It's supposed to be going on till 5, but it's cut short. It will finish at 4 o'clock. And similarly, we have other teaching at 4:30. Will be over at 6:30. And then at 6:30, there will be dinner. Gunda ki sunchu de chazu niba lambu zu che, ini chazu shiva la dhubya che. Ini gunda tanda sunchu ka niba de chazu dhudu cheka lambu zu, shida cheka lambu zu shu ne, ini dhudu cheka la dhuz dhubya re sha. Ini tanda Ningung ki suzi di tola chilo la pepe kindiba nama tso ki Ningung suzi de tanda kuru ki si sur di le tanda Buffett Pavilion se aja de suzi de Ningung suzi de kuri shu yo songi de nama tso tudi chi na gongche naro na. Di na xin ki at 7 p.m. tonight there will be the supplication prayer of Sangye Tsewa, the church, at 7 p.m. today here, I think in the hall. At 7 p.m. And there is another announcement. Those who are issued headsets, they are supposed to keep while you're here in the events here. But once you finish, when the events are over, I think you cannot take home, but you have to hand over to your respective leaders once you are done with the handsets which are issued to individuals. Thank you so much.
Gayo memba wa anorado memba wa benzra mame munza benzre wa ma samaya zato benzra mune damba wanje zre Paldenji Dewanjo Tamjiki, Chubinji Wongirbo, Chubinji, Tayendo, Napende Chebambo, Palden Drukpa Chaki, Padenzawe Lama Rimboche, Dagin Garbe Mesendrola, Dewa Meban Dawashone, Guzuntuki, Chingan Laptos, Tuzumzangia Dam Chiking or Rita Yingor Kapda. Kadin Sunda Majiva, Tinjanzawe Lama Tambe Shaki Pemu, Tima Mevala. Gozon rabdo deden gobe chaazeshin shodo gyazo chon dadan lo mi gyuchin gin laban zedo su manyor namba danyam besim chen tamje korwa dungi gin gyazo le de namba tamje kem ba sonjo kyadon do shi shang chim go ban nang go barcha de che do ngedun chage chim gomrim gi de che do tambe chue gi chengin jawr gi wala kunno da kunjo gi rimba nam do gi rimbu chen che shin song shin do set of December show.
Before, I began this teaching, I just wanted to share some of my personal feelings. Personal feelings in the sense that my appreciation and my rejoicement. Actually, people, have been telling me that the rejoicement and everything, these are at the end of the program, on the 15th. But I truly feel so much joy and appreciation that, I felt that before this, whatever this teaching, so-called teaching begins, just wanted to, to tell you all that I feel so much joy to, for that this annual Drukpa Council is happening. To have, His Holiness, our root Guru, beloved Guru, His Holiness Gyawan Drukpa present, and not only him, but all the Dragon Masters gathered here, and all the Sanghas, and especially the, Drukpa Sanghas, to gathered here in one place. This annual Drukpa Council is the, I will say, what is the annual Drukpa Council, This is not the place, and it is not this building that is annual Drukpa Council, because next year we might be having it in a different place. So, the annual Drukpa Council will remain in Nepal. So the annual Drukpa Council, essence of the annual Drukpa Council, I will say, is the blessing of the wisdoms gathered here from His Holiness to all the Dragon Masters, and the sincere devotion and open heart, that you all have brought here. So I will say, the annual Drukpa Council is, the masters and all of you. So I thank all of you. Truly, I show my appreciation to all of you for, making this first annual Drukpa Council happen. So, in bottom line, I want to say that each and every one of you is the, the essence of the first annual Drukpa Council. So now, going to the teaching, I'm not very sure what is the. I think the subject is something like turning anger into the compassion or something like that. I'm not very sure, but I've heard that in the Western countries there are some sort of like anger management methods, which are supposed to reduce your anger, and these kind of methods. So but which are supposed to maybe I'm not sure how it works, but maybe it is supposed to just help you manage your anger, and that's it. That's where it stops. But in the Dharma, as far as I know, I think there's no method like that, because you have to understand where the anger comes from. So you can, so anger comes from, I might say, the attachment. So attachment, again, comes from the ignorance. Ignorance breeds attachment, attachment breeds anger. These are all happen again because of anger. So in this samsaric wheel, you see this, the rat, snake, and pig, chasing each other endlessly. So what it means is these three, what negative emotions are, what you call it, cause of each other. So I don't think it's possible to say that I want to control my anger. I don't want to become an angry person, but I want to be, a limited desire. I want to be, ignorant, or let's say I don't want to realize the nature of my mind. I just want to, be, very well-tempered. I don't think that is fundamentally possible. Temporarily, yes, because if there's a flood coming, you can build a dam and stop the dam. But until you have solved the cause of the flood, which is, some river has, some sort of lake has overflown or something, until you don't solve the source of the problem, the dam is something like a temporary measure. So, yes, anger also, you can, when you are angry, maybe you can, I even heard some sort of, like a therapy where you break a lot of things and, your anger gets better. Or you go out and shout, and then it's supposed to help you. Yes, this might help you temporarily, but fundamentally, it will not, be a true solution, is what I think from my limited knowledge. So, what is, when we say, ignorance, what does it mean? Many of my, the Drukpa spiritual sanghas and many learned masters, I don't even have to mention, I'm not even focusing on them, I'm just focusing on, like few, like-minded, ignorant, and beginner to Dharma, just maybe there might be, 2 or 3 of you. So my target audience is very small. So, when you say ignorant, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are not smart, in the world. You don't know, you don't have a good degree, you don't have intelligence, you don't know how the business works, these things. We are not talking about that. As His Holiness said, very clearly yesterday, I think in the Tibetan, I think he also said in English, he said that, the ignorance is the belief, or I will say the perception that everything exists as it appears to be. That is the fundamental ignorance, So it doesn't matter, how much degree you have. As long as you believe that, this flower exists, as long as you believe that, the big and small exist, as long as you believe that, the happiness and sorrows, beautiful, ugly, exist as it appears to be, then you will, from the Buddhist point, from the Dharma point of view, you are ignorant. So, when you say that things do not exist as it appears to be, or when we say emptiness or shunyata, I don't think, because I haven't realized emptiness, I'm not claiming to realize emptiness. So what little I share is what little I remember from the teachings of my precious Guru, His Holiness, and few great other great masters. So from what I can remember, I think when masters teach emptiness, they use the word, especially Holiness, always use this word very often. Nothing exists as it appears to be, That means it does not say nothing exists. It says nothing exists as it appears to be. So that means, for example, we think that, this hall looks, before you all came, this hall looked very big, So I had a perception of big. When all of you are gathered here, the hall is looking a little small, Sometimes I'm worrying, whether all of you will fit here or not comfortably, So that means that my perception of the big and small doesn't exist as it appears to be. That's same with the rich, You feel, we feel that, that he or she person is rich. But again, that is a relative, because maybe you are rich in Nepal, but compared to people from other country, you are nothing. Or maybe compared to, Africa or some very poor country, you are very rich. Same goes for the beauty, like in different countries, I think it's in Burma or somewhere that ladies usually wear a very long sort of necklace to make their necks look very long. And that appears in our eyes, sort of, unattractive. But it is one of the most prized, sign of beauty in that country, So same goes for, rich, happiness, pleasure, pain. Because, pain also, like when you go with when you really want to go for hiking or climbing a mountain, Mount Everest, from one point of view, it's all nothing but a pain, exhaustion, tiredness, frostbite, all these things. But from your mind, your perception, that it's enjoyment, it's excitement, So, so that's why, these are the, so what it, I don't know how to put it into words, So what it means is that, we have to, our problem is that when we see something beautiful, we do not think that, okay, this thing is appearing beautiful because of my perception. Because, I remember once Holiness taught that all the, experiences, all our perception are like a mirror. All perception of beauty, ugly and rich, poor are like a mirror. And all experiences that we get are like a reflection in the mirror. So I think, when we have a perception of the beauty, perception of a friend, and not only perception but strong grasping to that perception, then the experience of, wow, beautiful, getting attached to that, or very ugly, that person is very bad. And what appears to us, we think it is 100% true. We do not think that, no, this is my perception, this is my creation of my ignorance, or let's say, or it is appearing beautiful because of various circumstances, because of various interdependent reasons. So then, of course, it is, when you think it exists, yes, then of course the attachment will definitely come, why not, Then when there's attachment, you are attached to, when you have this, grasping, grasping things, grasping, grasping, strong grasping, then of course whatever is letting you ungrasp, or let's say is what you feel is taking it away from your grasp, be it a fame, be it a person, be it a wealth, automatically, the anger comes, So, anger comes, jealousy comes, pride comes, Then from these, we of course, these are, I'm talking about more about mental. Then mind is the driver. Then mind, driver says, speak harshly, beat other people, do something physically, no control. The driver says, to go, car has to go. So that's why, that's the reason, why I was saying that, as long as you have ignorance, you will have ignorance, grasping of things existing as it appears to be. You will always have attachment, you will always have anger. So, in order to completely rid yourself of the anger and negative emotions and samsara, realization of the nature of your mind, or we say the nature of the mind. When I was, I always used to, even now also I'm very confused. I don't understand the teachings fully, but I always used to get confused. How can realizing the nature of my mind make me realize the nature of the things outside? Because my mind is here, and these things are outside, But I think, because I have not realized, I can't say yes, but I feel that, I think that it is because the mind itself doesn't exist as we perceive it, So with that, when you understand one thing, one which is the most closest to you, your mind, when you have understanding that your mind doesn't exist as we perceive it, as we, our grasping is, then you understand that, or maybe, I'm talking, actually, when you really understand, it's not something, I don't think it's something that you understand the nature of your mind. Then the second step is you understand others. I think it's a simultaneous understanding, I think it is I think it is a simultaneous understanding. So so how we are supposed to be, His Holiness said yesterday. So anyway, that's the reason, why we always say understand the nature of your mind, then you will understand the nature of all phenomena. Then to understand the nature of your mind, how do we go about it? Is through understanding the Guru as the nature of your mind, So then, then I used to get confused, I used to think, how can Guru be the nature of my mind, Because Guru is, my Holiness Gyong Drukpa, and he is there, and my mind is here. How can he be the nature of my mind, And when I was, His Holiness, when I was, he was just joking to me, he said that we say that all the phenomena are, emptiness. Sorry. All of emptiness, yes, all phenomena are emptiness, or all the phenomena are Guru, Then how can you sit on a chair, How can you eat? How can you sit on, how can you sit on a chair, use the table? All these are Guru, How can you even walk about, So, then I remember Holiness teaching that, Guru, when we say the Guru is, the whole world is the Guru, it means to the, the emptiness or the wisdom or the nature of the phenomena, which is existing in both Guru and yourself. But the difference is, Guru's is the realized and ours is unrealized. So from that point of view, from the Shunyata wisdom point of view, your mind and Guru is inseparable, because the perception itself that I and the Guru having these two, perception is again very much created by ignorance. Some people, ask me sometime, what is I am very devoted to Guru Rinpoche, but I am not devoted to, Manjushri. Some people might be thinking like that. But I feel, I think I understand that there cannot be differentiation between, Guru Rinpoche and Tara or Guru, or if you understand the nature of your mind. I think, these Buddhas are like compared to the, let's say, like the space, the sky, then just because we are in Nepal, and we see the, Nepali people will say that this is the Nepal airspace, and Bhutan, India, they will say this is the Indian airspace. But from the space point of view, I don't think they say that I am Nepal, I am, these are very much our, when people who are down here look up and label it, So in the same way, I think that all the Buddhas are also beyond the ignorance of the dualism. So that's why, when you say, when you say, my teacher is the embodiment of all Buddha, you are Guru Rinpoche, you are Tara, you are Avalokiteshvara, that's my understanding. And when you have that understanding, that wisdom, you are referring to the Shunyata, and then when you say that, nature of my mind is Guru, it becomes little more easy to understand. Otherwise, before when we were young and when we do this prostrations, we have this, guru, the lineage tree. Then, I have many, gurus of, and then Holiness, of course, the root guru, but I have many received teachings from Gyabje Adev Rinpoche, and, His Holiness Chekhambo in Bhutan. And anyway, so my point is that I had difficulty, how to visualize all these gurus, So maybe Vajradhara in the middle, another teacher on the side, But then I was uncomfortable because, in the lineage tree, it does not look like that. It just looked like Vajradhara alone, So then, I asked Holiness about it, Then Holiness explained, and now I understand a little bit, So it's much easier to understand that, when I prostrate to Holiness, I am prostrating to all the masters, all the Buddhas, all the Bodhisattva, because, of this, because Holiness, when we are referring to his enlightened mind, his wisdom, And that is beyond the concepts of, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. So, going back to the point, I think what Holiness said yesterday was that we can all, when you say you have to realize shunyata, it does not mean that, everything is a shunyata. Now we don't eat, now we don't drink, it's all emptiness, or something like everything becomes like disappeared. I think Holiness, mentioned, I don't claim to understand the mind of enlightened beings like Holiness, but from little bit I understood I think he mentioned that as long as we don't have this strong, the grasping, strong belief that everything exists as it appears to be, then we will be, sort of okay. Then we are sort of on the path to understanding the emptiness or understanding the nature of the mind. For example, I think how it should be working from my very beginner, very, very low practitioner, low intelligence and beginner point of view, someone who just have a great received. Only thing I'm great is I have a great blessing from Holiness, that's the only great thing about, in my life or about myself. So anyway, I feel that, for example, if you are in the mirror, you can see your reflection, so as long as you understand that, this is the reflection, and it doesn't exist as it appears to be. Tomorrow the mirror is broken, you wouldn't feel that I am dead, But if you believe just for some sort of, like a mental problem, you believe that the mirror, what your image in the mirror is real, and when you see that in the mirror somebody broke the mirror, while your reflection is there, you might think that I'm dying or I'm dead, or something like that. So I think our problem, my problem and maybe few of you, our problem is that, we think the reflection is real. We think that, we never use, I think that most of us never look inside our mind, we always look outside. I think that's the reason, why we find it very difficult to, sit in the room, quiet and alone, because then we have to, nothing to do but, unless you are very good at imagining things, you have to, you have nothing to do but, be aware of yourself, so that's why I think that's the most difficult thing. Masters say that, among all the practices, not doing anything is the most difficult, It is more difficult than doing 100,000 prostration, going, off mandala. The most difficult is not doing anything. Not doing anything in a sense, be it physically or be it in the mind, So what I mean is that we are always like, projecting outside, projecting outside. We always look at the outside, and then, we think that yes, what appears to me, it's real. For example, you have someone who you think is your friend, and then you think that yes, he is a very good person, and and you never think, we never think that he is a good friend. That perception of good friend is very much coming from my mind, We don't think that if the good person, good friend is existing independent of my perception, he should be perceived existing in him, then he should be perceived good by anyone who see him. But that's not the case, the person you love the most, who is the most, the wonderful person in your perception, from other people's point of view, can be the worst person in the world, But problem is, again, not only do we see our reflection, we believe that reflection is real, then of course, the attack attachment, jealousy, anger will come. Then the samsara, whole samsara, starts cycling. And then, so then the karma, then caught up in the karma, then of course, then the karma and samsara becomes very real. It's not emptiness anymore, it is true existing for you. For us at least, it is very much real. For example, you cannot say that, if it is not real, how are we, how does it look so real? How does it feel so real? Because when we are dreaming, it's real also, You are crying, you are happily doing something, you are eating, you are feeling sad, At that time, and from the point of view of the dream reality, yes, you are, it is real as what we are experiencing now, So that's why, I think, many masters, say that, I don't know whether it's master or I remember somebody saying that, the different, there's a very thin line, between, our reality and the dream. So I think, that sort of, as long as we can, as long as whatever we are experiencing, what we are seeing, hearing, feeling, as long as we don't have a strong grasping that it exists, then the strong attachment, anger, that lead by anger, all these negative actions, will not sort of, come about. So basically, again, it goes back to the, the shunyata. So, then we might be saying, then if that's the case, why do we talk about karma, In the samsara is not real, then why do we have to, do good deeds, accumulate merit, not to do the bad deeds, That is because, I think it's because, within the dream or within the illusion, there is the illusions, reality, which is, or let's say the truth, which exists in the illusion, illusion. For example, this life might be illusion, this life is illusion from the teacher's point of view, Dharma's point of view, but it is very much true to us, It is true that the beauty, ugly, pain might be very much illusion, but until you realize something, it is very much true. So until, if you are going to dream, why don't we at least have a good dream rather than bad dream, So then I think the Buddha taught, that one of the most first things he taught is, I think, one of the, for the beginner, he taught that, do not do bad karma, do not do accumulate merit. That does not get you out of the samsara completely, not at all. But while you are in samsara, at least, you have a good dream, If you are going to be dreamy world, why not at least have a good dream rather than a nightmare, So that's why then I think this, karma, or then, then the teaching of the karma, comes about. So then, going back to the, the total point, if you truly want to, erase all things, if you do not, as long as you don't realize the nature of your mind, there is no such a thing as permanent solution. Temporary solution, yes, there are many, like some of the therapies that, that's mentioned around, and not only therapies, but anything that you do that is positive, Okay, you go out and give something to the beggar, and if you do it with a sort of, genuine compassion, that is also, that will also calm be antidote to your negative emotions, definitely. And when you if you just visit a temple, Also, when you see, when you see temple, when you see a master, and when you feel that devotion to his great wisdom and compassion, again, your anger will go down, And when you do a lot of, like prayers and a lot of good, yes, your anger will definitely go down. But these are called, these, it's in the Tibet, I think, these are called, what do you say it, in Tibetan they call it gonun, which means like, you are just like, pushing them down, suppressing, not like some sort of, push it down for a while. So anyway, now, so that, now talk, just to talk, generally about now, that's, like, what do you call it, my conception or my perception, my perception of, the sort of, the understanding of the emotions and gurus as a whole, Now coming, what do you call it, just on the topic of the, this anger, I was just thinking, that there's a teaching by, great master Shantideva, and he taught, that I was just thinking I'll read few sentences from, his excerpts, his teachings, and then, maybe we can, like, sort of contemplate it all, all it together. So, again, in that also, like, actually this, this Chunjuk, or this thing, what do you call it? We call it, it's called the way of the Bodhisattva. This is the very great teaching, sort of complete teaching from the beginner of the, the first step, going up to the, the ultimate prajnaparamita, to the emptiness. So, these are the, so that in there, on the chapter of the forbearance, there are many sort of, methods given on how to, control your anger, But that does not mean that Shantideva says that, without realizing emptiness, we using this method, you can take care of your anger. No, it does not mean that. But, to realize the, what you call it, first, if you do not at least put down, or let's say minimize the defilements, like anger, and you say, I immediately say, I want to realize Mahamudra and Dzogpa Chimbo, it's impossible, Masters give an example that if there's a pond, which is very dirty and, very muddy, and then if you say that I want to see the bottom of the pond, you cannot. So in the similar way, until you have at least put down or minimize your defilement, it is impossible to see the nature of your mind and thus get rid of not only anger, but all our sufferings for once and for all. So that's why, I think many people, like, including myself, we will all like to, when you receive teaching also, we all will like to receive teaching directly, about, the Mahayana, the Dzogpa Chimbo, and, the sacred initiations, but you are not, the perfect pot to receive it, You are not the perfect, we are not the perfect pot to receive it, because our pot is filled with the dirt. So first we have to wash this pot clean, and the other example, let the water still, and then let's try to see the bottom of the ocean, bottom of the pond. So that's why, when you go to the master, he will teach you, probably firstly he will always teach you, in Drukpa tradition, let's say, he will, the first thing will be the, what you call it, 4 ways of turning your mind from samsara. These things, again, like a preciousness of human form, this appreciating your human form, appreciating, the masters, appreciating the teaching, this builds up a sense of, like a positive, sense of, positive and sense of appreciation, and then, you build up, then you do the, the, what you call it, impermanence, So it sort of, makes you realize that, it decreases your, let's say, little bit your attachment, because your fame or whatever, is by nature impermanent. So why do we grasp onto it so much, Then it talks about the karma, the consequences of karma. So that again, we do more sort of positive, and we, so that our mind is more clear, more at peace. Or another point you can say, so that at least while we are in samsara, we are not suffering, So then, then of course, what you call it, then the final steps, will be the understanding the suffering of the samsara, so that your practice, does not go in the way of just doing a lot of things, offering a lot of monies, and then, or doing a lot of things, but dedicating it for your business, for your next life, for, to become more famous, or something, which is very much, what you call it, very much within the samsara, Maybe even next life is also, you do a lot of good deed, but dedicated for the next life, you are still very much in samsara, So to get out of that perception, it takes you first, it takes you to some level, then it takes a certain level. To get out of that, then the, what do you call it? Understanding about the suffering of the samsara, so that, basically they say, there's a three kind of suffering. Suffering of change, suffering of change, the subtle sufferings and the gross sufferings, I think they are called. The subtle suffering will definitely refer to the, the imperceptible, impermanence. I think which means, like, for example, this hall, from our point of view, is very new, but actually it's old. It is old because now it is maybe, I don't know, a few months old. How did it become few months old? Because it has become, many days have gone by. Many days have gone by because many hours have gone by. Many hours have gone by because of many seconds. Many seconds have gone by because of many milliseconds, So that means that, each second, is our body, our everything is changing or impermanent, it's moving, That moving itself is suffering, But, we don't realize it, we feel that, we get old some sort of, suddenly today you are young, and after some time, suddenly how did I become old? I thought I was a young person, So, that's why it's called the subtle suffering, The gross suffering, then the suffering of changes, like drastic changes, like from being from a very rich to, suddenly you become poor, and then, you become from rich to you become poor, you feel, suffering, or then, these kind of, anything that is, which is happy, and becomes suffering, it can apply to many things. Then the gross suffering is, of course, the birth, they say that in the world, suffering of the birth, suffering of the age, suffering of sickness, suffering of death, and not getting what you want, and what do you call it, getting what we don't want, losing what we hold dear, and fear of protecting what we have. I think there's 8 I'm just talking about human realm. So these kind of methods, what it helps you is, it helps you detach, your practice, your accumulation of merit, or whatever your practice, from the motivation of samsaric motivation, So then okay, you have okay, we don't want to, we want to get out of the samsara. So how do we do about it? Then we go to, of course, the refuge. We take refuge in a Buddha, who is, the wisdom which is beyond the samsara. Then his path, the Dharma. Then the companions, on the path, Sangha, like that. Then the purification and the accumulation of merit. Then Guru Yoga, which is, we call it, the practice of the guru, or I think it more means something like the primordial guru, the practice of the primordial guru, which again refers to, excuse me, which again I think refers very much to the primordial guru, very much refers to again the nature of your mind, or shunyata. So that's why that is the reason why then slowly after that then you are giving the teachings of the the Mahamudra and Dzogpa Chenpo, etc. And at that time you are so what do you call it, you are like let's say how to say it, like you are like someone who is like a flower that is about to bloom, like it just needs a little bit of water, a little bit of earth to open. At that time the masters may give you just like if you are well prepared, if you are well, the foundation, the groundwork is well prepared, masters just might have to give you a few minutes of teaching, and you will instantly become realized, like the Naropa, Naropa actually become realized, from going from the biography with just I think four words. Before that, all these, the difficulties, that 12 great difficulties that he went through was, let's say, our preliminary practices that we are doing. And then when he was fully about to ripen, his mind was about to ripen, Tilopa, just gave 4 words, and then immediately he was, he realized. So that's why, I'm saying, this is why the masters, usually, usually will not. That's why the masters put this kind of process. I'm just, saying that because it goes back to my point of, that everything comes from ignorance, and so as long as the ignorance is not dispelled, there you cannot get rid of any kind of suffering totally. But that does not mean until you have realized you have to be suffering, does not mean that you can still do a lot of practices which will definitely calm down your negative emotions and pave the ground for you to realize the nature of your mind. So I'll just read one sentence from here. Before I think today I was told that teaching has been because I heard that many of the Drukpa Sanghas wanted to practice together, with all the Sanghas together. So Holiness has sort of commanded me that whenever there is no culture shows, to show the rich cultures of different Himalayan worlds, we will be doing like Singhiseva practice, maybe for 1 hour or something like that. So that's why today I think my teaching will be just till 4 o'clock, and then after that again there's another Rinpoche who is giving teaching almost immediately, so that we can have dinner early. So it's 3 o'clock. So I'll just give maybe 10 minutes or something of tea break, and then after that I'll just read a few sentences from the the ways of the Bodhisattva. I cannot go through all because it is, first of all, very profound. Second of all, it will take a lot of time. But I'm thinking maybe we'll just few sentences. We'll sort of reflect upon it. So going back to the topic of now, what I shared with you all before is sort of my sort of entire concept of the, let's say the Dharma, concept of practice, or whatever it is. That is the very much like a concept from top to bottom, entirely. Now, since we are supposed to be talking on the anger, subject of anger, let's, just, sort of talk a little bit more about that from the book, from this book, from the book called The Way of the Bodhisattva by Shantideva. First, he talks, the master, okay, I'll just read the stanza. I am as benumbed by sorcery, my mind reduced to total impotence, with no perception of the madness overwhelming me. Oh, what is it that has me in grip? Anger, lust, these enemies of mine are limbless and devoid of faculties. They have no bravery, no cleverness. How then have they reduced me to such slavery? This is, I'm sort of talking this, I thought of using this particular sentence because many of us feel, that, how can I overcome my anger, I have tried so many times. Anger is so strong, anger is so strong, I can't do it, it's like, impossible to overcome my anger. I have tried to suppress it so many times, So then, here I think it's sort of, they always say that, in the Mahayana teachings, Vajrayana is, my masters say that, that that in the Mahayana, Vajrayana is always hinted at, always, because philosophy cannot be different between Vajrayana and Mahayana. So Mahayana always hints, at Vajrayana. I might say hints, or you can, hints at, I think we should stop there. So, here, the Shantideva says, that, it is as if, someone has controlling me by, when I feel anger and all this, it's like as if I'm being controlled by magic, my jealousy or my anger, what, and my mind cannot function, normally. So, what is it, this madness, that has overcome me, Then the different second sentences goes into, deeper, This madnesses of, the anger, defilement, is it someone very strong, a strong man or strong woman or some sort of army, that is, or very intelligent person who is manipulating me, this anger? Is it something like that? No, anger, is, nothing actually. Anger doesn't, not only anger, all the negative emotion, it doesn't have, powerful muscles or strong army, Yet we are so much controlled by it, We are so much in its grip because of, the ignorance, So when I say that, this very much hints at, this is the Mahayana. The Shantideva is very much, of course, the Mahayana practice essence, I might say. So I feel that, when, it hints, because in the Ngondro practice, we have that, may all the defilements be turned into wisdom, I think, at first, that also, I always found very difficult to understand, I think, when we say that, may when the masters say that, the 5 poisons are actually the 5 wisdom, 5 wisdom, or 5 Buddhas, sometimes we think, when you say Buddha, again, we have a image of, I still do it, image of, some sort of physical form, and, maybe 5 Buddhas have different colors and all these things, different kind of perceptions. But again, like I said, Buddha refers to the emptiness, So I think when the teachings, it say that may my defilements be turned into wisdom or the fire Buddha. I think that maybe it is saying